The US Navy is currently sitting within dire straits, with all of its battleships and therefore surface power put out of action and into the dockyard to rest and repair. There is only a small supplies task force outside of Rennell Island. However, this is not by any means a safe zone, currently under attack by carrier-based aircraft, and with the Yamato task force bearing down on it, the supplies task force is not likely to survive the next couple days. After losing 2 transport ships, the mighty Yamato has come to finish the job on the poor supplies task force. With this mighty battleship bearing down on the US, the Allies are going to be hard pressed to make any real presence known in the Pacific for the foreseeable future until this ship is sunk. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our War on the Sea Let's Play series as the US Navy. We are in a bit of a resurgence, hopefully, from this episode. We have actually spent about 12 days waiting and idling by. As you've seen, we have lost the majority of our supplies task force. The remainder has made it back to the New Hebrides fairly safely, thank God. And we didn't actually lose any troops or supplies with those, because we did decide to drop all of them off at Rennell Island before we set sail away from there back home. And the reason for waiting for 12 days is to let things process through the dockyard and to get some command points back into our bank so that we can actually bring out a more powerful fleet, because we had so many of our ships in the dockyard. We were not having any presence whatsoever within the Solomon Islands and such. So, Task Force Thunder is back and healthy. A couple of changes. We actually have the Colorado back here, and we have a New Mexico over here, and we have loads of Fletchers as well. And we do have one of them, I believe. The Tennessee was not put into the dockyard because it is only minor damage there, and I believe there's no destroyers damage. That's all good there. It's all fine there. We can certainly live with that minor damage. But the biggest change to our general presence is the Hunter group over here, and the standouts part of this is we do have an Illinois and Iowa over in this task force. We also have a Wichita and New Orleans escorted by an Atlanta and a host of destroyers, some Fletchers and Sims to escort them for AA fire and submarine protection. We call them the Hunters because we know there is a Yamato still patrolling the Rennell Island area. So that's what they're looking for. This is specifically to hunt down a Yamato, which is why we need the big guns of the Illinois especially. But it can't take so many hits itself. Again, Yamato does have the largest guns available of any ship in this period. We don't want to trade for too long between that. We want to focus that down as quickly as possible. There is quite likely an enemy carrier task force about as well, but of course we've had no presence in this area, so we've got very limited scouting to tell us exactly what's about. We're going to wait a little bit longer. I believe in the dockyard we still have a couple New Mexicos and our North Carolina over here. That will open up some more command points once they're recycled through the dockyard to reinforce our supplies and such. Looking actually at our total losses then, we have quite a few, but it is largely destroyers of course and some merchant ships, so it's nothing too bad, but it is putting us on the back foot for a little bit of time and making us play a lot more passively. But today we're going on the aggression once again, and we're going to try and hunt down this Yamato, so let's get going there. And we have instantly found an enemy task force. I'd imagine this is Yamato. We haven't previously scouted this out before this engagement, but it is denoted as a battleship. This is just south of Rennell Island, and what do we see? They of course have some scouts and yet the Yamato task force. So, massive battle to come. Let's identify that and send out some firing orders, shall we? Okay, so we've got our guns trained onto the Yamato. We're moving out with a couple line formations with the Atlanta and the Radford over here. Just bringing out their lines as they are at the moment, just to scout ahead, get some distance, lay some smoke, and just to try and deal with these scouts over here. We're going to try and move in with our own scouts, of course, and identify the rest of the enemy fleet. We're not firing just yet because we want to build up our solution onto the enemy for the minute. And then we'll build up some spotting fire. We are going to fire it with a Wichita and such, though we should just be about in range. Yeah, we certainly are. So the enemy is 21 kilometers away from us. I think really we might as well fire out to build up our solutions here. I don't think they're going to climb too much more than that. Downed one enemy scout, which is excellent. We do have our destroyers and Atlanta on also 5 flak. Actually, we don't have the Atlanta on also 5 flak because that will waste a lot of its ammo on just some minor scouts. So of course I want to try and keep some distance with this so that their light cruisers and such can't fire at us, but they do have some heavy cruisers. They have a Mogami and a Takao. So we are going to want to spot those and get our heavy cruisers on them. Looks like we just about missed the Yamato here. But like we said, we don't want to drag this out for too long because that will still hurt our battleships quite significantly. And now that we have some very decent solutions, we're going to stop spotting fire and fire for effect. We're going to bring the Illinois around a tad over here and watch what the Wichita and New Orleans are doing. So I think actually Iowa and Illinois can just form a line ahead themselves, and the Wichita and Illinois can actually act a little more independently. So they're going to slow down a tad and lets the Atlanta and such lead on ahead. And then we are going to push up over here for now. Push through here. And we have actually found the rest of a few of the enemy ships over here. So we can sight and fire up the Mogami. So I think we're going to focus that with our Wichita and New Orleans over here. We're going to get some spot and fire immediately on that. Unfortunately, our secondaries won't really be in range of anything. We will have to identify that as a Mogami as well to help us out. And double check that Wichita is in fact firing on us. It certainly is, which is great. Just making sure we're not taking any damage ourselves yet, because it looks like they're getting close. There we go. Oh, it's massive damage already on that compartment there. Very direct hits with that shell there. Very nasty indeed. So we're going to have to send out some decent maneuvers here. Even more damage of fire spreading. I think what we'll do is we turn out to them and continue to do so there. We are going at full speed over here with this group of destroyers. The idea is to try and get in range of our torpedoes here. We're not quite there just yet, unfortunately. Is the Atlanta in range of any destroyers, perhaps? Let's double check our own range because it is quite small, the Atlanta. 13 kilometers we need, unfortunately. How are we doing over here? Fire still needs to get under control there. Have we got any hits onto Yamato? It doesn't really look like it just yet, unfortunately. They are grouping up now, so any shots around here will hopefully get some collateral onto these ships. It looks like they're about to collide over here, so we're going to hold out actually with our Iowa and Illinois. We do have a good, I'm guessing on a broadside with the Illinois. Oh, that is massive damage on the front there. You can see the fire spreading there, massive. Need to turn away a little more, I think. It looks like they are pausing there. Need to get up what we can. Very scared with that fire going on. Not a lot of fires generally, but they will spread. What is the wind speed is fairly high at 26 knots. Let's double check the rest of our formation here. Try and get round, like we said. We're going to speed up a tad with these ships now, just in case they are in fact under fire. Should be able to get a decent broadside off there. Largely under control of the fire now. Yamato is still quite slow, and we are able to manually fire once again. Let's get that off there. They are moving at roughly 5 knots, so give them a tiny bit of lead. Hopefully, at least get some collateral onto the light cruiser here. The Oyodo, I believe it is. So it looking like they're doing some damage with their secondaries there, actually. Let's see about that. It's a little too short there, unfortunately. Be able to fire again. Yep, just doing so. Just missed there as well. It's like fire spreading to our magazine area, unfortunately. Keep an eye on our positioning there. Let's take a second to try and target the rest of the enemy ships with our broken off ships, our formations. Well, we're still in a pickle, but we've managed to avoid a collision of our own. Getting on top of some damage, fire's not really lasting too much. We're going to try and keep up with some sorts of manoeuvres. So we're going full speed to turn out here. We're going to just change our direction for a tad and turn around. We have our Radford and these destroyers trying to aim at this Hatsuharu for the minute because we are just about in range there. So that gives some sort of fire. Got some good solutions onto the Mogami, but I don't think we're getting any meaningful hits over there. I don't think we're getting any meaningful hits onto the Yamato either, which is very unfortunate. It is now firing off its speed and getting away from that Oyodo, which is rather sad. Number 2 sinking, that's rather interesting. More from the enemies there, so with enemies like these, who needs allies, hey? But we do still need to watch out for our own battleships because they're taking a little too much damage from my like. We lost a director actually over here, so that is going to hurt us with our solutions, of course. We do still have a secondary director, and we're going to get on top of this flooding, I think. Starting to take damage to our propellers and rudder, which is not good at all, of course. In fact, looking at the enemy's position, I think we're going to try and turn to our starboard side. It's going to take some guns away from the enemy temporarily, but we need to cross their T and try and get to their back, I think. We're not quite in range for our torpedoes just yet, so we're still looking to get a tad closer with our destroyers. Once we do get that much closer, they're going to start dropping like flies as well, unfortunately. Let's take a quick report actually, see what we've done to Yamato. So moderate to moderate flooding. So we can live with that, knowing that we probably don't have quite so much damage done to our own battleships. And we heard an explosion there. Hopefully it's not one of ours. Sounds like it's onto the Mogami with the fires going up there. You can see the smoke coming. That's not from their smoke generator. But I would kill for some longer range torpedoes right now, some fast ones of course, because it's going to get too late to fire any off rather soon. I don't like to think that the enemy's going to try and get too close either. We could try and fire them off in this general position. I think what we're going to do is come around a tad closer, it's more succinctly there. Just get some near misses once again with Yamato. It's all it seems to be towards that ship, unfortunately. Now starting to get on top of these floods. I don't want to send out smoke just yet, but we are taking hits now onto the island. That's taking some rather nasty damage actually, so let's take this away, get onto the fires, and actually just turn that around a tad. It's quite likely from the enemy heavy cruisers, because I don't think the Yamato can really fire too much with its current position there. You can see some more shots getting onto there. Rather nice indeed. And I think we're going to start actually directing some secondary shells over towards some destroyers over here. So we're actually going to get onto the Hatsuharu as well. But actually, yeah, our starboard side secondaries are out of action for the minute, so that's rather unlucky. In fact, completely being destroyed there. Going to get I think the same out with our Wichita, just to get some focus fire there. That should be pretty decent there. Illinois might want to look at that, but we have lost a director, so I think we're just going to focus onto the Yamato for now. I actually want to get some smoke out with the Iowa. I think we're guessing there though. I think we're guessing there. Just want to get the Yamato down and then we can pull out really. Of course the heavy cruiser would be a lovely Brucey bonus. Can we take this away and get that onto the flooding? I think just need to do some better management of our damage control teams here. Illinois is recovering. It's a shame about that director though. What are we looking at with the general distance over here? Still over 13 kilometers. 13 kilometers being the range of our torpedoes, of course. I'm going to start firing now. On to, what's this? The Sendai. Can't do too much with our destroyer guns. Let's fire out over to here. And we're going to identify that as an Asashio and hope that's correct. Otherwise, we should change that. Jenkins on there as well. It's not going to do much against the Yamato. It's not even in range. Atlanta, you are looking at firing onto the Hatsuharu, but I think we've got enough on there, so we're going to go for the Asashio instead. Do have a pretty decent solution against that Mogami. It's just not getting too many hits in, is it? Staying at range with this heavy cruiser. Don't want to start taking shots with that. We are going to turn around. Watch our position. How are we looking over here now? We are surrounding them. It's making it difficult for the enemy to fire at us quite well. Regaining contact with the number 5 here. That is a Sendai. It looks like that Mogami is taking a bit of pressure. We can see the Hatsuharu is now taking some as well, and that's excellent. No sign of torpedoes being fired against us just yet. And that's always good news. It's only ever near misses against this Yamato. Even when we're doing manual firing and firing directly straight onto the Yamato. How are we doing with the Illinois? We're taking any more damage here? I don't think we are, so I think we're going to try and get a slightly greater broadside there. Just turn a tad. Nothing too hard. Just as we say that, yeah, that's a bigger reason to start doing some manoeuvres there, because you've pretty much lost the bow at this point. As long as that doesn't hit round to a magazine, I'll be happy at this point. It looks like the Yamato is slowing down. It's gone from 15 to 14 knots. Hopefully that persists. It gets greater. Greater damage, of course. You can see a massive explosion onto the Mogami there, and it looks like we have a problem over here towards this Sendai, which is very, very useful indeed. So any fire going towards this ship over here will be very nice indeed, but we actually can't see that just yet. That's because we're completely ignoring our Kingfisher over here. For some reason that doesn't want to select that properly. There we go, it's come back round. Double check we're not doing anything stupid with the Iowa after that. So, Yamato, how are you doing? 13 knots. That is slowly decreasing its speed. Very, very slowly indeed. How are we looking with this Illinois now? We're taking more damage. There are shots coming around, so we're going to turn in once again just a tad, just to change our course and speed a tad. Throw the aim off, and we can see the Yamato is in fact going at quite the crawl now, so we're going to try and hold off and get some more manual shots as that slows down. We'll just hold our fire. How's that Mogami looking? Let's take another report. So, where is Mogami? Minor to minor, that's not really too good to be honest, but Yamato is finally on heavy damage in total. We should bloody hope so, this engine clearly wrecked. Want to do some more damage though to keep that out of action. There's the previous shots coming in. Can fire right now. Didn't mean to manual that. Just a small slip there, not to worry. It is still travelling, so we'll give it a little bit of lead. Did just see a massive hit come in. And I think we'll take that onto the fire. And we'll increase our speed once again and turn. Would love to get some shots up with the torpedoes on this end, but it looks like we're slowing down here after taking some damage. I think if we turn out here, we can fire some torpedoes into the enemy. What is the range currently here? Still not quite good enough, unfortunately. It's rather unlucky there. How are these shots going against Yamato? they going to come in soon? Should do. See, that's pretty much dead in the water. Let's make sure we're ready to fire again. We certainly are. Go Iowa now. How is our Iowa doing with that damage? It's pretty much got on top of it. No damage control needed for the minutes, but it looks like we're getting a lot of fire towards our destroyers over here now. And that's rather a bother, to say the least. Should be able to get some torpedoes out of the Atlanta now, so let's do that. If we manually fire those actually at a 2-degree spread, and fire them, it's going to need a bit of lead. And we'll turn the Wichita around to make sure that we're not getting in the way there. In fact, we'll turn that down here. How are we doing with Illinois? There's a lot of fire there. There's a lot of fire. Even more damage there. Might have to send this straight back home after this battle. No ship ever serves too long, does it? We are ready to fire out once again. That is in fact gaining some speed now. So we'll send that back to standard firing. Can see we're getting some sort of hits on there though. How's that Mogami doing? Looks like it's pretty much dead in the water as well. Did we get those torpedoes out with the Atlanta? Doesn't look like we did. Trying to. Just need to turn around out a little more, I think. And we'll certainly do that with the Hughes over here, if possible, after taking that massive explosion. There we go, you can see them coming out from the Atlanta on the map there. We'll spread those out a little further down, and we'll go with the Jenkins here as well. 2-degree spread, aim into the Lissamore there. Doesn't look like the Hughes is going to be able to get those off. A lot of damage now onto the Illinois. Rather nasty indeed. Let's get onto some more fires, I think. Keep that general going. How is the Yamato though? Nothing too visible other than the scorching on the sides there. There's just so many guns able to fire at us. So many guns able to fire at us. How's that Mogami doing? Yeah, I'll start to fire at Wichita as well. I may have to just retreat, but the Yamato is so close to coming down, isn't it? So close. But it's a really tough nut to crack. Heavy to heavy on there, but heavy to moderate on Illinois, and I don't want to lose that so quickly. And there we go. We have achieved our primary objective in this particular battle. The Yamato is finally sinking. And that is one out of, with this mod, let's remember, there are far more than 2 Yamatos. That is 1 out of 16 possible Yamatos. And that's rather a sad prospect actually, considering the firepower it took to down that. I think what we're going to do is stick about. Mogami's about to go down, and we focus fire onto the Sendai because it's approaching our Atlanta. That has taken a magazine explosion, so should be going down fairly soon. Like we said, Mogami is pretty much a sit and duck, so we've taken our New Orleans to start firing on the Takao, and I think we're going to start doing that with our battleships now, so that we can fire and get another large target down and out of the way. We'll start with some spotting fire. Illinois has in fact lost that director, hasn't it? So we're going to get our secondaries onto that as well. Going to get our main batteries to fire at the Takao with the Iowa, and we're going to fire our secondaries on to... Let's find another lovely destroyer. We were trying to fire on the Asashia, so I think we'll try and fire on that to get our secondaries out on there. We don't need to spot with that in particular. Let's get going. I think that's pretty much all we need to do as far as orders go. Jenkins and Hughes are going to quite likely going to lose in this battle, unfortunately. The damage is rather astronomical, pretty much dead in the water at a 50% top speed capacity. On the Hughes, it's not quite so bad onto the Jenkins, but that is taking most of the fire. Looks like a few of our torpedoes are coming in now, which is why I want to waste a round, see how they do. Going to batter this Sendai a little more because it's too stubborn to die, apparently. And therefore the back guns are still active. Wichita is smoking. It is a tad on fire now, taking damage from the Mogami and the Takao, I bet. So I want that Mogami down as quickly as possible. Looks like the Takao's just taken a massive hit as well as the bow and the bridge area, which is excellent. But we're certainly going to be sending the Illinois back after this, which is rather a shame. But sending it in against the Yamato, just... You got to do it. That's part of the series, part of the challenge. Don't want aircraft. We did actually, by the by, try to send in some Lightnings armed with rockets. Of course, not for the Yamato, but more for. Our magazine's on fire now. That's not good. Let's turn out a tad. But more to get rid of some destroyers, so that we can watch out for those. We not have to focus on that quite so much of our ships, and limit enemy torpedo possibilities, I think. Looks like these torpedoes might well hit the Takao, we're very lucky indeed, but it might not make much difference at this point with the damage it's taking. It's always the case, isn't it? American torpedoes are so slow and such short range on them as compared to the Japanese torpedoes. And even when they do bloody hit, it's not guaranteed they'll detonate. So we might be lucky enough to hit this particular ship if we are very, very lucky indeed. But that might need a bit more lead on these incoming torpedoes. Maybe the Sashia, if that slows down, if we're lucky. How's that Sendai doing? Dead in the water, but it's still firing its guns. I think we're going to stop on that then and actually just get onto some more destroyers. Let's get onto this Hatsuharu once again. And how are we doing over here? Still firing on Hatsuharu. Wichita, still firing on Mogami. Just pause very quickly and get some manual AP rather off. No need, it is sinking, so we'll pause once again. No need to fire at the Takao, so we're going to find another light cruiser, another Sendai over here. And we will take our secondaries over to this particular ship. I do want to try and identify that. We'll call that a Kagero for now. And we get our main guns over here because we didn't actually identify this, did we, properly? Getting ahead of ourselves, as is often the case. Yeah, that Takao, whether it takes a torpedo or not, is definitely down now. How are we looking over here? There's a lot of damage, but I think we're going to get on top of it. 20-ish seconds until we're on top of the fires on the magazine there. Give this a watch. Pretty much down, but look at all those torpedoes coming in. And actually that's probably the horn to say that is sinking. So torpedoes are going to hit, but it really makes no difference whatsoever now. Just make sure that sinks even quicker there. And even a few duds, aren't we lucky? So Illinois is actually going away. This is actually falling back. That's not a problem. We can just tell it to come around here. Iowa, in that case, can... I think we'll pull out in just a second. We can let some destroyers go by. Just make sure the Sendai sinks and watch these torpedoes attack. Well, what a battle that was. We strangely did not actually come out with any losses ourselves, considering the damage to the Jenkins and the Hughes in particular. I honestly thought they were going to get scuttled at the end of that on our retreats. And I was very lucky in the end actually not to lose an Illinois there, because the Yamato was clearly battering that. We were given the grace of the enemy sinking their own Oida, of course. That did help us out quite a lot. That certainly saved some destroyers there. And we did sink both Sendais in the end. So that only leaves two destroyers about there, and those will certainly retreat. And we shall happily take our reward of 20 command points there. But unfortunately, that does mean we are going to send back the Illinois already. I'm not letting that out in the current position there, and we'll send that back with the Hughes and the Jenkins, unfortunately. So they get a split group, but you know what, we will see them again in the future. That's not going to be the end of those ships in particular today, but that is unfortunately all we have time for today, so that is going to be the end of the video there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. So that's one threat down, just the countless carriers to come and some more Yamatos to take its place, I'm sure. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please leave your feedback in the section below as ever. But I shall see you in the future. May all of your nights and days be auspicious. Goodbye.